I'm not touching weekly hard stratagems anymore until they make changes. Either tune some of the modifiers, add requirements to be able to access the hard mode stratagem missions, which, yes, I agree. Rename hard to absolute. I'm not too sure if they really need that. But, dude, honestly, to this person's point about the name, apparently the ruthless icon is the same as hard mode stratagems, which is crazy. But, yeah, it's definitely harder than ruthless. There's not even a friends tab for me to add good players. Good point, but I feel like that's a side, topic. This is stupid. It's not even remotely fun unless you have a group of 3. Matchmaking for this mode is useless. It takes me hours. Dude, well, part of that is just there are so many people jumping into hard mode stratagems looking for carries, like straight up. Obviously, I'm reading a pretty critical post here about stratagems. I've seen a fair amount of these recently, so I wanted to revisit this for just for a bit to kind of relay the question to you guys, what they could really do to change and improve stratagems. But ultimately, I feel like there's so many random stratagems. I think it's really going to be hard to get like a consistent experience across the board for everybody to enjoy it. I mean, dude, I guess this is why we're continuing the discussion about this, because ultimately for me, when it comes to hard mode and normal mode stratagems, I'm having a great time, but you can definitely tell there are hard mode stratagems that are next level difficult, and then there are hard mode stratagems where it's like, oh, it's decapitation, you have the For the Emperor buff, and you can't play the assault class. It's like, okay. But like there's another hard mode stratagems that's just like you can't parry, and you can't do anything, you have less health, all of that. You know what it is. I did see the one where you can't use a grenade, so yeah, that is pretty interesting. They do cut off classes, so obviously, and not to mention with hidden modifiers, there's probably a fair amount of people who, like me, didn't realize they were class nerfed, hit behind the modifiers, a hidden class nerf, insane. But okay, let's continue this incredibly critical, potentially salty post. I say this as someone who has every character max level and prestige and most weapons completely leveled. Something needs to change. He's 100% correct on everything about matchmaking and queuing into people who just don't understand what they're doing. Ultimately, sometimes a matchmaker can not do us any favors as well. Yeah, dude, the more I play stratagems, I'll jump into hard mode. If I go through 3 teams, where it's like they're not understanding the modifiers, like it's literally like a class nerf and they're jumping into the modifiers with that class, like that level of just ignoring, like not being able to read, I guess. But ultimately, some people are just like, hey, let's try it anyway. Like, shout out to those players, to be honest. Anyone who wanted a more punishing experience, they're probably eating pretty good for stratagems. There has to be prerequisites for matchmaking. I agree. For these modes or something, like half of these classes max level and prestige, and half of the weapons in the game max leveled something. Oh, have half of their weapons leveled? I don't know, but I do think the max level, that's honestly, I wouldn't even mind if they're just max level. Like, if someone was like, you know what, I'm Prestige 1, level 25, I just want to run a hard mode stratagem right now, and then I'm going to Prestige after, I'd be down for that. Like, why not? But it's mostly people are like, hey, I'm level 9, Prestige 3, but this class is horrible for this stratagem. However, I need some experience. It's pretty interesting. But okay, yeah, obviously there has been a fair amount of criticism for stratagems recently. But yeah, this post was more so about matchmaking, it feels like. However, I can definitely understand their frustration for this one. Stratagems need to change. These missions are falsely advertising their difficulty, are not presenting level requirements to play, making matchmaking very bad. Yeah, no, I agree. Holy cow. Falsely advertising their difficulty. Dude, to be completely honest, it's like, I don't think the devs are doing that on purpose, but it essentially does become that way because of how difficult some of the random modifiers can just be. I truly do think it's just like super random, and sometimes we just get stacks of modifiers that are just terrible. Okay, are not giving enough rewards. I'm not too worried about the rewards, to be honest. I do think the cosmetics should have... one or two things need to happen. Either normal dailies and hard dailies should both just give you 10, or like 10, 15, something like that. I think they should buff both of the dailies. Also, the cosmetics that you get with the accolades, I think that those should be a little bit, a little bit cheaper as well. But ultimately, I do like the rewards. The daily missions are basically not worth spending the time on for 5 or 10 measly credits of this currency. I mean, yeah, fair. I mean, overall, I did say I do want this to be buffed. I mean, these are things that I've mentioned, but it is pretty funny how, like, we're seeing this. Both these posts, by the way, were, like, basically right after each other. For making the new currency only be given once from one mission playthrough is making the game unholy in grind terms. I'm looking at 17 more weeks of playing the normal difficulty weekly mission to get rewards I want. This is ridiculous. The hard mode challenge is basically impossible across both these last weeks, and irregardless of if you win, you only get 200 currency. This still presents weeks of grinds. I honestly I think the weekly payouts are fine, to be honest. I just think there should be more cosmetics to grind for potentially. I have way better stuff to do. I'm a player that enjoys a good challenge, and I hear you, brother. If you can't do hard challenges, get good. Normally, I'd agree with you, and I kind of do, however, like challenging myself as an option. I like being able to choose to subject myself to the special kind of, hell, absolute difficulty can bring. I do not like when I am forced to go through these challenges to get armor, weapons, and feel like I'm making progress in the game still. Doing these challenges with randoms is not fun. I mean, it's been random for me. That's what it is. You're playing with random. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good, but yeah, a lot of times it's been bad because they're falsely advertising their difficulty. It made me go from loving the game and the challenge of Absolute, as there's no worry in losing when I'm just playing Absolute purely for the fun of it. It feels more accurate to 40k, the power scale and the amount of enemies feel correct. However, now I'm being forced into this to get the armor I want. Okay. I don't know why. The reason I'm laughing is because when I used to do Elden Ring invasions, there's a big discussion on if this player is actually being forced to play hard mode. It's just an inconvenience, but they're not being forced to do anything. This has really ruined my enjoyment of the game. Stratagem needs to be either pay out more on dailies, which I agree with. This cap of only doing the mission one time for the new currency needs to be removed. That's a fair point, I think, as far as, like, if you're able to, like, repeat dailies. Dude, honestly, if I was a dev, I'd just let people do that. Just let them play the game. You know what I mean? I'd happily grind normal weekly missions in 1 to 3 days and be able to move on. I'd even be willing to still play the hard mode if there's nothing on the line. As I actually enjoy the hard difficulty, I just nearly beat the dang Trigon moments ago, but sure enough, one mistake cost the mission. I'm okay with that, and it's making me do this over and over because there's no other option than to keep hitting my head against the wall to get this currency. I wonder what they're playing, to be completely honest, because I think I understand what they're trying to get at. Yes, the currency is probably an issue, and they should probably look at buffing the dailies. I agree. But as you guys can see, some people are getting extremely sick of hard mode stratagems, and this is definitely something that makes a lot of sense, to be completely honest. Consider this. Consider the fact that maybe like 10%, 5% of the people were playing Absolute regularly. Now, a lot of people don't understand how Absolute can get. So you have a lot of people jumping into hard dailies or hard weeklies, trying to look for just new weapons, new cosmetics, whatever. And a lot of these players are returning, not playing Absolute. We get it. They're not prepared for it. So of course there's a whole bunch of people talking about how terrible hard stratagems are, but I do see a fair amount of people talking about they've already been leveled up and playing Absolute. Like, this person said they played Absolute and they beat Absolute and stuff, but yeah, hard stratagems potentially can be like easier than Absolute or twice as hard as Absolute, and I do think that is kind of a pretty wide range. But at the same time, there has been a lot of fun hard mode stratagems, but yeah, the currency is just not worth the grind in a sense. I do think they should buff the currency for dailies 100%. But okay, let's go into some comments. both of these posts were it was a lot to digest. Random matchmaking for hard stratagem missions has been extremely rough. I don't understand why they don't, at the very least, give us a filter to filter out all of the low levels. It's absurd that we're forced to queue with people looking for a carry in the hardest content of the game. I will say there is a filter, and we're currently seeing it. We're currently going through comments and posts talking about hard stratagem and how tough it is. The thing is, some of the posters here obviously like absolute and everything, so I do think it's just the unfortunate nature of the fact that some of these stratagems really do have some messed up combination of modifiers, but sometimes they don't. Like sometimes normal stratagems can be tougher than absolute. I think it's all going to be very, very interesting how this all comes together. Like we're what, like 1 week down? We're about to be 2 weeks down into the dailies and the weeklies. It's going to be very interesting to see the next weekly. I both love and enjoy Space Marine 2, all characters, weapons, max level, all operations on absolute completed. I don't need the stress of the broken modifiers on hard difficulty. I beat week 1 hard weekly, but yeah, it certainly took a few hours to get the challenge completed. Felt great overcoming and beating it, but hardly worth the stress. See, that's the thing. The dailies need to be worth it, 100%. The reason I'm finding dailies very fun is just to find a modifier where I can buff something that is maybe off meta, or just, for the Emperor. Buffs are always very fun. Obviously, fighting with the Guardsmen has been very fun. There's been very fun stratagems that do combine in interesting ways, but then there are very punishing ones, and I think that's just the random nature of it, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, as much as I want to talk about the filter, I do want people to have fun with dailies. Like, I don't understand why the devs really made sure that stratagems were difficult for people who have been playing the game for a year. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of people who haven't, that are returning from the original launch, who just are seeing this huge difficulty jump. And I think if they do want to make it worth the stress, in a sense, they need to make sure that the dailies are worth it. When people see 5 accolades, they can do the math. They understand. But yeah, ultimately, I do think stratagems are still more fun than operations. So even if you just jump on Space Marine 2 for a bit, I think it's more worth it going on your max level character. If you don't really want to go through hard dailies, I mean, for 10 accolades, and you'd rather just do the normal dailies, I think there's still some very interesting stuff there that is super fun. So overall, I do think currency and, rewards for stratagems should be increased. I do think the dailies should be increased just to incentivize grinding, and not this, oh, I'll jump in for the weekly. Oh, wow, this weekly's terrible. I'll wait a week to play the game again. I don't know. I do understand there's a lot of games out there. I mean, I've been jumping between stratagems and Silksong, so it's been pretty jarring as far as a difficulty standpoint, but ultimately I'm enjoying my time because I am enjoying what I'm playing. And the atmosphere of both games, I definitely enjoy. The new Vortex mission. Dude, I want to play more of it. I really do, but it hasn't been in the dailies recently. So, yeah, I guess we will see. We will see what the devs decide to do with the hotfix, but definitely wanted to touch on the subject just in case some changes are on the way for stratagems, because it seems like there's a lot of suggestions. So, yeah, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this, and thanks for watching.